Hello, this is Darius Oliver with Divine Numerology. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We got an awesome guest for you, Miss Jessica Gillenwater, and she's going to be here sharing what angelic Reiki is, and we also are going to be talking about Morgan Freeman and his numerology. So don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
On 92.1, coming soon.
Peekaboo, peekaboo. KXVS on 92.1. Coming soon.
Hello, this is Darius with Divine Numerology. Everyone, thank you for tuning in and spending this time with us. So today we're going to be talking about Morgan Freeman a little bit and his numerology and what it says about him. And as far as his personality and his character, who he really is, which will give us some really good insight into him as a person. One of the first things that I'm going to show and talk about is his day of birth. It's the 1st of June in 1937. So he's born on the 1st. So since Morgan Freeman's born on the 1st, this gives him the talent, skill, and ability of 1, the number 1, which is confidence and creativity. Confidence, creativity, the ability to take the risk, to be the innovator, to be the one who takes initiative to do something. And it's so interesting in a lot of his roles, he takes on a leadership or mentorship type of role. Someone who plays the teacher, which matches his life path as a 9. 9 is the final number in the series of the numbers 1 through 9. It's the final, and it means wisdom and integrity. It's so interesting that happens to be his actual life path. And what it says, see, the 9 as a life path is also resonating with a planet called Chiron, and this is related to what's called the wounded healer. Someone who uses their pain in order to heal other people. And the 9 is also a person who works and does well with the masses. It is a person who deals with the public. The 9 is the humanitarian. 9 cares for people and just wants to help people in general. And so 9 is known as, we call 9 the reluctant leader. 1 would be the one who strives for leadership and goes for that intentionally. And since that's the case, the 1 and the 9 as a combination would be someone who is the reluctant leader, meaning when no one else stands up to the plate, they're the one who does. But at the same time, takes the initiative to seek out those leadership roles and be direct and be out there in the front, which he's applied to his acting career. The ability to do that. His specific life path comes from the number 27, which is 2, the number 2, which is focusing on others, and that the others being supportive groups, communities. It deals with communication, resonates with the throat. And then we have the 2 coupled with the 7 vibration. So it's a 27. 7 deals with themes that are related to trust, openness, the ability to actually the quest for truth, seeking knowledge, getting down to the underlying matter of things. Now, as a rule, in general, every number is not only positive, it's not all rosy. So there's other qualities and other sides to these numbers as well. For instance, the 1 in negative cases can come off as arrogant, can come off as self-centered and only concerned with itself in comparison, in contrast to other people, and has trouble acknowledging those around it, and may feel perfectly entitled and okay in doing that, feeling that it's not doing anything wrong. But that's when it's unbalanced, and it needs to be brought back to balance by being made aware that its needs are not the only ones that need to be satisfied, but that there's a bigger picture and a lot more people around. And then the 2, it stands, we generally say that it's cooperation and balance, But on the other side of the coin, we have non-cooperation. We have imbalance. We have, whereas two is represented by peace, two can also be represented by war and strife and competition. So a person that has a life path, we would love to assume that they're going to only bring in these qualities and that they're only here to learn those positive qualities. But many times when we're doing charts, the person's going to be showing some of both parts of the number, some of both extremes, when we actually meet them. The side of the 9, it's very selfless. It is the humanitarian. But on the same note, on that other side of the coin, the 9 has to combat with selfishness and its own self-interest. The 9 represents the macrocosm, the big picture. The 9 can also be so focused and self-centered on rule and domination that it becomes consumed by its own self-interest. So these are not qualities that I'm saying that Morgan Freeman does or does not possess. These are just certain vibrations that are along the different numbers on both extremes. Another thing, the number 7 deals with trust and openness and spirituality, the quest for spirituality, whether it's the quest for truth, whether that's through spirituality or science. But the number 7 can also bring, when it's a life path, that person in the situations of people that are holding secrets. 7 is very mysterious, so it can represent a person who is very mysterious, who is very secretive, or comes in the company of those who are secretive, or the company of those who are betrayers or whatnot. Both sides of the coin are always represented by all the numbers. And because we live in a world of duality, so it's not going to be just black or white. It's going to be a little bit of both. But what we've seen in many of Morgan Freeman's roles is that he tends to play the leader. He tends to play the wise old mentor or the hermit or the sage in many of his most recent films and parts that he's played. And when we take a look at his full name, we see that his first name equals 5. Morgan equals 5. And then Freeman equals 8. So his first name it gives us an indication of who he is on a social level. The 5 would be freedom and discipline, and the ability to adapt, the quality of adapting to situations and places that are constantly changing. And then the 8 would deal with abundance and power, and the ability to be social, to enjoy social events, social gatherings, and to also it appeals to social power and social structures. 8 is represented by the planet Saturn, and 5 is represented by some would say Mars, and then some would say Mercury. It depends on what realm of teaching you're coming from. But here, with the 5 and the 8 combination, we have this 5 and this 8. Now, Morgan Freeman actually does not have a middle name. He said that his parents forgot to give him one, which is really interesting. So we add the 5 and the 8, we get 13. And, of course, that reduces down to 4. So Morgan Freeman's full name equals a 4. And that is the number of process, stability, structure, and order. It's so interesting that in most of the roles he plays, he tends to play that, play quite well. Not only does he play the leader or the wise mentor or instructor, but he tends to play it in such a way that's very structured, orderly. he speaks in that way as well. One that's very stable. It gives you this sense and energy of security, that kind of sets you at ease and lets you you feel relaxed, and you feel like, oh, okay, so you could just take it easy while you're watching one of his movies, or while you're listening to some advice that he gives you in the role that he's playing for whatever movie that is. And we just see some really interesting characteristics. The letter M, for instance, equals 4, which is what his full name equals. So we got a 4 in his as his full name, and that's also the number of his first letter, which we call the cornerstone. He has 2 4s altogether in his name, which adds intensity to that 4 energy all together in and of itself. So he definitely there's definitely a lot of structure or energy there from what we can see, from what I personally am looking at. And then in looking at his what we call pinnacle cycle, we see that from the rest of his life up until for the rest of his life, he's in what we call a pinnacle 3. And 3 is dealing with expression, sensitivity, the arts. It's so amazing when we look at people who are in these types of positions, entertainers. Morgan Freeman had a 33 master number. He has a 33 master number just hanging right in the middle of his matrix, right in the middle of that. And for those of you who know what the pinnacle matrix, that's when we take a person's birthday and we split it up into what we call 4 different pinnacles. His third one, which is the major and most important, has the most impact on his life, is a 33 master number, which was also prevalent in Michael Jackson's name, which was also prevalent. The name Beyonce equals 33, and Beyonce's middle name also equals 33. It refers to the master entertainer, master expressionist, also master teacher. We have a lot of similarities with that number. Jesus was 33 when he died, and he's the master teacher, one of the master teachers, and just a lot of different similarities like that are just so profound. And this master 33 energy was active in his life during his age of 37 to 45. So for those of you out there, take a look at some of the movies what he was doing in his life at that time between 37 and 45, and that'll give you some insight into Morgan Freeman. So that's your homework. But for now, at this time, for the rest of his life, he's vibrating with the 3 pinnacle, and his 3 pinnacles come from the number 21, which is what we call the world. So he has that as his final pinnacle. And then the challenge corresponding to that is 19, which is the sun. So the sun is kind of shining over his world. So just a lot of things that he's been doing since then. And we're about to go to break, guys. So thanks for tuning in. We're about to come right back with our awesome guest, Jessica Gillenwater. And if you guys have any questions, message me or put a little message on the inbox on this video if you're watching through Facebook. And we'll be right back.
KXVS on 92.
Air Living Report from the Valley Air District.
KXVS on 92.1. Coming soon.
Hello, this is Darius. We're back with Divine Numerology, and we have our awesome guest with us. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. We have a spiritual powerhouse with us today, and her name is Jessica Gillenwater, and she's here to share about what she does with Reiki, angelic Reiki, and also she's going to be explaining her clairvoyant abilities and how they affect and shape her work and how her work is actually helping people. And also she's going to be giving us some insight into how some of the planetary bodies are affecting us at this time, such as the eclipse we just had and what people are experiencing and how they're feeling. You know, some of you guys out there are feeling like, oh my gosh, I just feel this energy, it's so intense. So she's going to talk a little bit about that. And you know, she's also quite the numerologist, for those of you who don't know. So where numerology fits in, she'll definitely point that out. And if you guys happen to have any questions during this transmission, go ahead and type it down, and we'll give you the way to contact her as well at the end of this. So first of all, I want to thank you, Jessica, for being on the show. You know, I just want to say that. And
thank you.
Yeah, great to have you. And you know, first off, I just want to ask, what exactly is what's angelic Reiki?
Well, angelic Reiki is energy healing, and it helps definitely in a cellular way, physical, mental, spiritual, and it helps heal the chakras, and it's the 5th dimension and up. So lots of times during it, you feel very relaxed, and you'll actually get an energy high from it.
Interesting.
Yes.
So it's not so angelic Reiki. Is there any difference between angelic Reiki and normal Reiki?
Yes, definitely from what I've experienced, because I did go to school for the Usui Reiki 1. I noticed the attunements are way more powerful.
Okay.
Significantly powerful when I've experienced it. And I just noticed, you know, with the Usui, I did see great benefits. But when I was doing the angelic Reiki, any spiritual gifts I had, instantly it stepped up at least 5 steps right after. So I'll get visions, but then when I started doing personal healings, I'll get way more information. And even as days go on, even in the present time, over time, I'll notice gifts growing and growing. Also, not just me sitting around and be like, oh, hey, everything's going to get better and improve, but also doing the work, meditating and learning. It makes it so much easier for me to grow my gifts.
So you mean you actually have to put effort into this?
Well, yes, you have to have discipline and meditate, you know, and also practicing it. I mean, you can't just sit around and do nothing and expect everything.
Wow. So, because this is a little bit different. You know, there's certain people that they say, oh, you're just born with it and you have it or you don't. But from what it sounds like, it's sounding like, you know, the average person can develop it. Is that true?
Definitely, because I'll see people, they're like, you know, I never had any type of psychic abilities, no clairvoyant, no clairaudience, and then they're like, oh, all of a sudden I'm hearing and I'm seeing things, I'm smelling and tasting, and people are like, oh my God. And it'll even be, you know, no offense to any Usui people, because it is an incredible energy healing modality. But there'll be Usui Reiki masters, teachers that will go to the angelic Reiki class because they notice a very strong difference.
Wow, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
So I've actually spoken to several of your clients, and they've shared your experiences that they've had with you, and it's been so interesting because they mention not only do you do the healing and they get that experience in and of itself, that healing, but they say that you give them visions. Like there's certain visions that they will have, and even some people have commented that you triggered their own visions, that they would see things and then you would see certain things. And what's that?
Yeah. I mean, there are times people will get visions, some don't, and that's perfectly fine. I will see something, and sometimes even before I speak it, they're like, oh, just for example, they're like, oh, I feel an Archangel Raphael is right here, and he just got closer, and then I was about to speak that Archangel Raphael was right there, and then he leaned forward. And then some people, they'll say it before I speak it.
Interesting.
So, and then some people are like, oh, I don't have it. I'm like, I was literally about to say that. And they're like, no, I realized, like, yeah, I'm not just making it seem like, to make you feel better, but like I was legit about to say that that's what he was doing, that I was seeing. So
wow.
I'll notice that with some people, and some people don't get any visions, which is fine. They might feel something or hear or just feel very relaxed, which that's fine too.
Okay, so it's not like, oh, like I'm gonna see something, like I'm gonna see.
Some can.
Oh, okay, so
I mean, it differs from each person and sensitivity levels, and
Sure. So it's different for everyone. What's the most profound experience that you've had so far?
I think definitely a close friend. I saw, before she even took the test, I saw a fetus in her uterus, and I was like,
wow.
I was like a baby. I was like, oh my God. And then later they called me up, and they were like, yeah, so I took like 6 tests and I'm pregnant. I was like, oh.
Wow.
I was like, oh, okay. And then that to me is like the most special moment that I've ever had, especially like a baby, and I like kids.
Yeah.
So, and I do have a feel like of what the gender is. I mean, I'm not going to say, even though I didn't reveal who this individual is, but just,
They know who they are.
Yeah, they know who they are. You know who you are.
Protect the names.
Yeah.
The names will be withheld to protect the innocent and the guilty. Yeah.
I'm not guilty.
So I'm sure that had a profound, that's amazing that you could actually tell her that, hey, look, boom, this is what I see, and then she comes back to you with feedback explaining, oh my gosh, this is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I do have to say is that these statements have not been verified by the Food and Drug Administration. But I'm gonna ask you, because I think I know who this person is. Of course, I'm not gonna say who it is.
Yeah, you definitely know who this person is.
Didn't you say that there was something that was some work that was done on them before they had that?
Oh, I was doing healing on their uterus because this individual wasn't able to get pregnant.
Oh,
so
okay.
a little over time I was doing it, and then I don't know, she just I saw that, and then this individual messaged me, and I was like, oh, well, I took 6 tests and I am.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, oh, okay. I was excited. I was like, what?
Wow.
So I was very happy for them, and it was just a big wow, definitely.
So you really helped to change people's lives in a really big way.
That's definitely my goal in life.
That is an incredible goal, and it sounds like you're really doing that. Thank you for sharing that on the show.
Welcome.
One thing I want to ask about is we just had this eclipse.
Yes.
We just had this eclipse, and we've been hearing a lot about planetary bodies moving in the skies and space, and we have different viewers out there from all different backgrounds, but we all seem to be affected by this stuff. What exactly is? Do you know anything about this?
I'm not a big astrology or planet, I don't know too much, but from the information that I did research and things like that, and what I'm noticing is people are definitely having ascension symptoms, and I'll get messages here and there from different people saying like, oh, I've been very depressed, or like I just like everything's too overwhelming, I feel like I'm going crazy. Like I'm seeing that as people using the word, I feel like I'm going crazy.
Wow. And
I was like, oh. And I've experienced ascension symptoms, so I fully understand how incredibly intense it is, and it can be pretty difficult. So what I try to remind people is, look, like, I get it, like, it doesn't feel great. Like, it's already on the table. I know it's not pleasant. But anything that's coming up, just try to face it and take care of it. Because if you pull away from it more, so lots of things, it's anything so I'll just go this way, it's easier. So when I went through it, everything that's happened in my life that I didn't fully heal, everything came to the surface. Things that I didn't even remember.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, what? And it was such a hard hit. So I was like, okay, well, if I ignore it, then I'm not going to feel any better. So it wasn't the best feeling, but once it's just so much, because it's such a strong push and pull. That's such the best way I could explain it.
First, I have this question. So to the audience out there, raise your hand if you heard about the Ascension. Okay, so no, of course.
About like 10 people.
All right, of course I can't see. All right, so there's some people who know about the Ascension, but then there's some people who don't. What the information you gave is awesome. For those of our listeners who are not quite sure what that means, like how would you best describe the Ascension?
Definitely ascending higher, ascending higher, and definitely growth, and growth doesn't necessarily feel great. So when you think of a seed, it has to push through the dirt. So it's a lot of pushing, and then you feel the push and pull at the same time.
Right.
And trying to push through it, it can be difficult, but it's incredibly rewarding.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And so as like a testimonial in a way, you've experienced the ascension symptoms. You've experienced the process, the growth period. It's kind of like the caterpillar goes to the cocoon, comes out, he goes through the struggle, then he becomes a butterfly, and everyone wants to help him come out of the cocoon, but you can't, or else the wings don't get the juice. But when they do, they fly high. Yeah. And it, based on what you said, it sounds like that's what's happening. The growth and the spiritual levels that you're helping other people to reach and to get to know themselves better. That's really to be commended.
Thank you.
One thing that I have that's really interesting to ask, because I know you know a little bit, quite a bit about numerology. I know this
because I'm always around.
And so
it's like, how can I not?
What? Oh, of course. But the fact that you have this Reiki background, this knowledge, and this expertise, how have you seen numerology fit into that?
Because definitely from what I learned from you and different people is that how the numbers are with the planets. And I remember, you telling me certain things, and sometimes when I'll pick certain things up, you're like, oh, this area, and you're like, oh, you picked this up because of this, this, and this. So, like, I know 9 is Chiron, and it's right here.
Upper back?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just, point. It's like, yeah, right there. You just got to guess where it is.
Yeah. They'll get it. No.
Yeah. But sometimes I could feel, when I go on that area on people, I could feel like I'll hear like such a heavy load to carry. Like this one individual, this is a while back, I heard on him it was such a heavy load, like you got to get some off. And then Chiron, wounded healer.
Interesting.
And so if you think of Chiron and then a lot to carry, you know.
Interesting. You know what's so interesting about that, why I keep saying that over and over, is because Morgan Freeman is a life path 9.
That's funny.
And that resonates with what you were just saying.
Yeah.
The wounded healer, one who uses his experience and his past pains to heal people that he speaks to.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's amazing. So what have you noticed? So what do you notice when you're running energy on different parts of the body, like the upper back, if that's 9? Like if a person is, because there's certain missing numbers in people's names, like a 2. You know, it's actually really interesting, and I don't think I shared this with you, but 2 corresponds to the throat right here. And on my own personal numerology chart, for people who don't know, 2 is actually my first challenge number. And that's what I had a difficulty with when I was in high school, was with the throat, a thyroid issue.
Yeah, I remember.
And that corresponds to that. Had I had this information, had I known Jessica Gillenwater and her angelic Reiki practice, I would have gone to her to get some angelic treatment on my throat to made it better. But that's an interesting correlation between the number 2 being my challenge number and then it being a throat problem that I had. You know.
Yeah.
You know, just throwing that out there. What would you say is the best starting point for anyone that is wanting to embark on the spiritual path?
Usually what I say, if people are like, oh, I want to learn this or learn that, depending what it is, like if people want to learn to be more intuitive, I'm like, well, pay attention to anything you feel. Like if you're hearing like a little voice like, oh, hey, like, don't go that way. You know, it's like, pay attention to it, see what happens. You know, say if you didn't go straight and you went left, and then later on the news you found out that there was a robbery. And then, you know, if you get a feeling that, oh, I should make this agreement with this person, like a business agreement or something, if you feel that pull, like over time, listen to it and see how it goes. And the more attention you give to it, the more powerful it gets. Just like with the negative too, if you're focusing on the negative, oh, I don't have this or this or this, then you're going to get more of that.
Lacking.
Yeah. So if you're going to say, wow, I have like incredible people around me at all times, I'm at the right place at the right time, all the time. And then the more you say that, the more you're going to see it. So, I mean, over time, like I was feeling, you know, like I wanted more energy. So I was like, yeah, I have good energy, I'm around good people. And then saying that more consistently and having that discipline. That's what I was saying earlier, discipline. Sometimes people are like, oh, I don't feel like doing that. I'm just going to watch a movie. And I've been in those situations where I'm like, no, I'm going to watch that new SpongeBob movie or
just
something.
Came out,
Yeah. And then it's like, no, I don't feel like doing that. That's very timid and boring.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to do things that doesn't necessarily seem fun. You have to discipline yourself, and then over time it gets much easier. And staying consistent.
Okay. So it sounds like in order to develop a person's intuition, it sounds like there's a little bit of the law of attraction in there too, from what you were saying. Like as long as they're focusing on that intuition, developing that, then wherever they put more energy or focus, it will grow. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Now I have this question, okay?
Okay.
What is this sacred union that I've been hearing about?
Well, it involves you.
Okay, cool.
So I'm kind of surprised that you didn't know.
I know, right? How do I not know about it?
But so basically, we decided to team up. You know, at times, you know, besides him when he has his clients and I have mine, is we get together and he takes his numerology and then I take my energy healing and any visions I have, and we combined it. So sometimes what people like to do is they go to him first, and he'll be like, okay, these are the spots that you could use more energy. And then he'll tell me, I'll be like, okay, so that's here, 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 and here, or whatever.
Right.
And then I'll put energy there, and then I'll let them know. If they're open to it, I let them know any information I receive.
Nice. And we just had our first Sacred Union event on the 22nd, and we actually have some more that are coming up for those of you who are interested in checking it out. And if you have any questions for Jessica Gillenwater, if you'd like to reach her, what's the best way that they can reach you?
They can message me on Facebook. It's Jessica Gillenwater. I think I have a long last name. But you can message me. I'm definitely open to answering any questions. And also, phone number is 209-898-4103.
Okay, awesome. What's that number again?
209-898-4103.
Awesome. So if you guys are out there and you would like to receive Reiki healing, angelic Reiki healing, or a numerology Reiki session where it's applied to the numerological points on the body, you can definitely reach either myself or Jessica at that number 209-898-4103 so that we can take a look at your numbers and see what areas can be healed on the body. So that is it for our session today, for the show. And first of all, I want to thank you for being on the show again. Thank you again. And sharing with us the knowledge and experience that you have and that you've taken the great time of gaining. And I want to say also to everyone out there, I'm going to be at Unity of Stockton tonight at 6 o'clock, 6 to 7. I'm going to be having a workshop out there today. And for those of you who are local and available, or even those of you in Lodi or out of town close by, come on by to Unity, and we're going to be having a workshop. I'm going to be taking readings down there. Readings are discounted today since it's going to be at Unity. So we got 50% off on normal price. So come and check it out, guys. Hope to see you there. And thanks for tuning in to Divine Numerology. This has been Darius Oliver and Jessica Gillenwater, and peace.
KXVS LP Stockton.
Warm, stagnant weather may be the catalyst